Hey guys, it's me, Cyrus. Welcome back. Well, recently I've been looking at NES games being converted to run on the TurboGrafx 16. And I was wondering, is it possible to do this on the Super Nintendo as well? I said that the TurboGrafx 16 was basically a Super Nintendo before a Super Nintendo because it has a lot of similarities in architecture and CPU and various different things. It's just a very similar type of console. And yeah, it was possible to convert NES games, NES ROMs, into TurboGrafx ROMs, and then have them actually run on that hardware. Really cool stuff. I've done several videos on it. And, the main reason that it is possible is because that CPU is so similar. It is super fast compared to the NES processor, but it is the same type of processor. It's the same company. It's the same line of processor. It's just a more advanced, faster version of that. And that is a huge part of the reason that works. TurboGrafx does have some other hardware differences that have to be overcome, which is why there's some bugs and some sound issues and stuff like that. But all of that stuff could eventually be fixed, and you could have pretty much exactly perfect conversions. Some of the conversions actually are pretty much spot on. Mega Man comes to mind. There's even that CD version with the CD music. So that's really cool stuff. And it really got me thinking, the Super Nintendo, the real Super Nintendo, it also has the same line of CPU processor, but an even more advanced version than what's in the TurboGrafx 16. I think the biggest problem there, though, is that the TurboGrafx 16 is about twice as fast as the Super Nintendo. Unfortunately, the CPU inside the Super Nintendo is a little slower, but it's still twice as fast as the NES processor and much, much more advanced and 16-bit. So there's a lot of things that are working in your favor there. A whole lot of other hardware differences, obviously, but there's a lot working in your favor. So is it possible to convert an NES game to run on the Super Nintendo? The answer to that is actually yes, it is. And this is an interesting thing that I'm still learning about and I've been diving into and exploring. But this is something that there are actually programs out there that will let you do this conversion yourself. One of the programs that I've found, and I think there's a couple of different ones out there, the one that I've found that seems to be the best as far as what I can tell is one called Project Nested. And Project Nested will actually let you take NES ROMs and turn them into Super Nintendo ROMs. So there's links in the description. You can look this up on your own and you can tinker around with this and play with this. I have been doing this. I've been messing around with this for a couple of days and I've had sort of mixed results. I think if I give this enough time and I really mess around and tinker here, I might be able to get some of these games running perfectly. But so far, I have some good results and I have some that are not so good. I have just different results. This is what the program looks like when it's running. It's very simplistic. You come over here, you open your NES ROM, and we're just going to take Batman, for example. And Batman right there, open that up. And once that's opened, you have a bunch of options here that you can scroll through and look at. Different triggers that you might want to select or deselect. There's also the ability to patch the game, and you can even do Game Genie patches built into the game. So there's some interesting things you can do here. And you might look at that and just be completely lost and be like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do or not do there, and none of that makes any sense to me. Well, some of that's going to be playing around with it. Some of that's going to be discovering stuff on your own. If you click this compatibility button, it will open up a web page here that takes you to this spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet gives you a listing of games and their compatibility and some information. And this is a color coding for the games. We want to look for the green ones. That's the ones that are fully playable. You can see it goes down from there. Star ratings go down as well. Here's the game list down here. And if we click it, you can see all the different color coded games. And here's Batman. It's a green one, which is the best. And this is the information that they have listed about compatibility for it. So there are some things they suggest that you do, depending on, like, in these different versions, they figured out there's some issues here. The latest version 1.5 is the one that they tested on, although we are actually using version 1.7 at this point. So as they go, this gets updated, and as new releases of this are put out, the compatibility could improve. So if you need to select or deselect stuff inside here when you're building your Super Nintendo ROM, the way you'll know is just take a look at here and see if they have something listed that you might want to find in here and make that change to try to get the compatibility better. Some of the games that you might want to try might have patches, and a patch is just some text in here. And if you copy that and you come over here to your program and go to the patches button, it brings up this little window. You can just paste the patch in there, and then you've added your patch. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to leave it as is for this. So there's different things you can try, and you can try patching and things like that just to see how things run. Once you get ready to build your Super Nintendo ROM, you just come over here and hit Save SNES, and it literally saves the Super Nintendo version of that ROM. So here's Batman for the NES, here's Batman for the Super Nintendo. It is now a Super Nintendo ROM. So you can see here it's listed for SNES 9X, which is an emulator that I use if I decide I want to play this on an emulator. And by the way, I have about the same results on an emulator as I do on actual hardware. So I am running these ROMs on my Super Nintendo with a flash cartridge. I have an EverDrive. It's an older Chinese knockoff version of an EverDrive for the Super Nintendo. And there's a couple of things you have to do, kind of tinkering around to get this to work. But I've got Batman loaded up here. So let's see if it will work. One thing I want to tell you is once you load up your game, if you have one of these flash carts, you might need to come over here to the ROM settings and make sure you set your SRAM size to something. I use 8K, but it could be more, it could be less, whatever. As long as it's something and not 0. So once that's done, then we can try to start our game and see if it runs. So let's see if we can get Batman to run. I've already got it loaded in memory, and let's see if it works. Here we go. You might notice some sound problems or some graphical issues. This is something I'm just learning about and tinkering around with. So you might have better results than I am. We're going to let this intro run for a minute. Okay, well, let's see if we can get the game to actually run, because I've had issues. Like I said, it might run, it might not run. But we're working on it. So let's see what kind of results we get here. It does seem to be working. Oh, and it crashed. So, like I said, I have had mixed results. Okay, let's see if we can get another game to run. I've already tried to convert several games, and oh, hang on. Sometimes a flash cart gives me a little trouble too. It is a cheap one. All right. I've already tried to convert a few other games, and like I said, I've had some kind of mixed results. So these are all games that are listed as green on that list. So there's a few of them. It's actually quite a bit more than what we're able to test on the TurboGrafx, so that's nice. But, yeah, kind of spotty on the results. So let's see if Super Mario works. Now, first time I load it, it's not going to work because it sets the SRAM size to 0. So I got to go change that once it loads into memory, and then we'll try it. So give it just a second here because it's got to load. This is a very old EverDrive, so this one takes a little bit of time to load games. I highly recommend you buy, if you're going to buy an EverDrive, buy a real one. Buy one from Crix. There's some that you can get that are pretty basic. They're more advanced than this. They're not too expensive. But he's got a model that actually will support like everything, all the awesome Super FX chips and everything like that. So I would just recommend that you do that. And don't mess around with these Chinese variants too much. Okay, so like I said, SRAM needs to be fixed. So we'll reset there. And we'll change that. And now we'll see if the game works for us. So, I don't know. We'll find out together. Let's see. And that looks like Super Mario Brothers. That's pretty fascinating. It's the first time that I've actually loaded this up on here. Okay, let's see if it plays. I mean, it's running pretty good. Well, I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. Super Mario Brothers seems to work pretty well. I really cannot complain about it. I mean, it could crash at any moment, though. Let's be honest. The simpler the NES game, with the fewer mappers, the better luck I think you're going to have. Oops. Well, there you go. All right. Definitely check it out on your own. Let me know if you want to see more footage of that. Let's check out one more game. Or let's try to anyway. Okay, what to check? What to check? There's so many options. Okay, Dragon Warrior. Let's see if it works. I don't know if it will. It worked on the TurboGrafx. Will it work on the Super Nintendo? We'll give it a shot. So the list is pretty interesting of games that I've been able to at least try to get to work. Batman, Castlevania, Zelda 2, Tiny Toon Adventures, Tetris, Super Sprint, Super Mario 1, 2, and 3, Spy Hunter, Shadow of the Ninja, Russian Attack, POW, Power Blade, Paperboy, Ninja Gaiden, and Ninja Gaiden 2, Mega Man and Mega Man 2, Mario Brothers, Maniac Mansion, Lode Runner, Little Mermaid, Little Nemo, Life Force, Kung Fu, Kirby, Journey to Silius, Jaws, Jackal, Gyrus, Guardian Legend, Gradius, Ghostbusters. All right, we got to do this. Ghostbusters, Friday the 13th, Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, DuckTales and DuckTales 2, Donkey Kong Classics, Dig Dug, Contra, and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. That's the ones that I've attempted to load on here, and at some point we'll try to get to work, and, we'll see how it goes. Let's see if Dragon Warrior starts. I don't know if it will. I've never tried it. Let's find out right now. And it does not look like it's going to work. It looks like there's something I would need to change or something I would need to fix to get it to go. So unfortunately, that's a no-go. Like I said, I have had mixed results here. We'll try one other game. Maybe something a little simpler. Something really simple. How about Donkey Kong Classics? Regular Donkey Kong on the Super Nintendo would be pretty cool. Let's see if we can get this thing to work. Again, this program is called Project Nested. There is a link in the description. It's up to version 1.7. A lot of work has been put into this, and I think it's pretty crazy. There's no tool like this for the TurboGrafx that I'm aware of. The guy that's working on that does everything sort of manually. So it's very interesting that they've been able to figure out how to put together this sort of a tool. And I think if I continue to mess around with it, I'll probably have a lot more success. But I've only really begun to scratch the surface on what's possible. All right. And let's set our SRAM. And let's see if this works. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Donkey Kong Classics. How well will it work, though? I don't know. Looks a little glitchy. Alright, let's see if I can get it to go. Yeah, it's a little glitchy. It is working, though. Well, if you can deal with the glitching, it plays fine. All right. Well, it works. Sort of. Okay, let me know if you want to see more NES games and see how they work. I'm going to keep tinkering around and see what kind of results I can get. Maybe I can get some of these games to work better or perfectly. I don't know. I'm just going to keep playing around and see what happens. But this is pretty interesting stuff. Pretty fascinating to see NES games running. And yeah, they're buggy. There are some issues, but I mean, it's not terrible stuff. The sound seems pretty good. Graphics look really beautiful. I'm playing this over S-Video on my Super Nintendo. So, pretty cool. Alright guys, I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Check out the links in the description, and I'll see you later.